It's easy for them to do. They're adept at doing a ditty, getting rid of you and not having no handprints on it. Like this is how they traffic. And so you will have to really not be scared, not be acting like you not scared. You'd have to really be too stupid to be scared.
Pig parties, the whispered legend of Hollywood that just won't die. Those secret after-hours gatherings where the usual rules don't exist and the powerful allegedly pull out their darkest sides. Forget the red carpet and glossy press tours. The real moves, the career-making or career-breaking deals, happen far from the cameras in shadowy initiation rooms. K.A. himself has said it over and over. The real Hollywood isn't on set. It's behind closed doors. And now comes the bombshell. Blogs and gossip accounts have started dragging David's name into this underground narrative, all because of what happened with Celeste Riva Hernandez, a 15-year-old girl, discovered lifeless in his Tesla, her cause of death still deferred, and her connection to him confirmed by friends who swore they thought she was his college girlfriend. They described him as shy, gentle, quiet. But the streets? They're not buying it. They're saying his silence isn't shyness, it's guilt. Katt's warning hits different when you place it in this context. Nothing in Hollywood comes free. You want the spotlight, the deals, the fame. Allegedly, you have to give something up. And the word on the street is that Celeste wasn't just a tragedy, she was a transaction. A sacrifice tied to one of those very pig parties Katt keeps warning about. Sounds wild, right? But look at the timing. David goes from a TikTok kid to an Interscope-backed artist with millions of streams and a debut album practically overnight, right as Celeste's life collapses. She disappears repeatedly, gets reported missing multiple times, and then she's found in his trunk. And instead of a full-throttle investigation, we get silence. Half answers. No official statement from him, no clear ruling from the coroner. That's why this story has teeth. Because when Katt Williams says the game is rigged with rituals, people remember the tragedies. Whitney at that infamous party. Kanye speaking about his mother. Michael passing right before his big comeback tour. The pattern always looks the same. A big star rises, a sudden death nearby, and whispers of sacrifice. And now, with David, the dots are being connected again. Allegedly, Celeste wasn't just collateral. She was the price of admission to the very parties Katt has warned us about. But what exactly is a pig party? The name itself sounds cartoonish, but in Hollywood gossip, it's been floating around for decades. Depending on who you ask, it's part initiation, part humiliation ritual, and part freak-off for the industry elite. If you're invited, you either play along or risk never being invited back, and that can mean your career stalls out permanently. The whispers say these aren't your regular house parties with champagne flutes and DJs. Pig parties allegedly go much darker. They're described as tests, where stars, executives, and hungry up-and-comers are pushed past their boundaries while cameras roll. People are put in compromising positions on purpose. And why? So the power brokers always have leverage. You want to say no later? Too bad. There's a tape of you already. And here's the kicker. These stories aren't new. Back in the day, people claimed Hugh Hefner's mansion was just a dressed-up pig party.
Now, there are individuals who have looked to clues in his shows or his songs for alleged connections to Celeste, and to be clear, nothing has officially been verified. Here's the thing, even if you look at lyrics from his song Romantic Homicide from back in 2022, this is what seems to be creating the conversation. The lyrics say, I mean, even in the back of my mind, you died, and I didn't even cry. No, not a single tear. But again, nothing remotely to suggest this has anything to do with Celeste.
Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut wasn't just a movie. Conspiracy theorists swear Kubrick was trying to show us the very rituals Hollywood tries to hide. Jaguar Wright, Orlando Brown, even Katt Williams himself have painted vivid pictures of these closed-door freak shows where nothing is off limits. In this narrative, pig parties aren't just about scandal. They're about power. They allegedly serve as initiation ceremonies, a way for new talent to prove loyalty by being broken down. That's why Katt always says Hollywood doesn't reward talent. It rewards obedience. And if you've ever wondered how someone rockets to fame overnight, the streets whisper that the answer might be what they left behind at one of those parties. And that's where David's name comes in, because the theory goes like this. Celeste wasn't just a girlfriend. She was allegedly brought in as part of that very scene. Her fake ID, her presence at clubs and industry events despite being underage, her repeated disappearances in the months leading up to it all. Every detail feeds the growing story that Celeste was moving in spaces far too grown for a 15-year-old. It's disturbing, but in gossip lore, pig parties have always thrived on exactly that imbalance. Powerful men, young women, and a system that covers it up. If David really was at one of these secret gatherings, if Celeste really was there with him, then her tragic end starts to look less like coincidence and more like consequence. And that's exactly why Katt's warning hits so hard. Allegedly, Hollywood doesn't just party, it ritualizes. Once you step into that room, there's no walking out the same. Now, here's where the whispers get personal. David isn't some washed-up star clinging to relevancy. He's the quiet kid who blew up on TikTok, landed a major label deal, and dropped an album before most people even learned how to pronounce his stage name. To fans, it looked like a Cinderella story. To the gossip crowd, it looked like something else. A fast track that came with a cost. Enter Celeste Rivas Hernandez. On paper, she was just a 15-year-old girl who went missing multiple times in 2024 and was later found lifeless in the trunk of David's Tesla. But here's where the timeline gets suspicious. Friends say they saw her with him often at clubs, at music events, even at age-restricted parties. They thought she was 19, a college student at USC. She wasn't, but she was allegedly slipping into grown spaces with fake IDs, and everywhere she went, David wasn't far behind. That's why the sacrifice narrative sticks. Katt Williams always says Hollywood demands a trade-off. You don't just get fame without handing over something. And Celeste, in this darker reading, was allegedly that trade. Her sudden disappearance, her repeated missing person reports, and her tragic end all lined up with the exact moment David's career was exploding. Allegedly, the question writes itself. Was she collateral or was she currency? And think about the symbolism. David's breakout track Romantic Homicide carried the chilling line, "In the back of my mind, I do." At the time, people brushed it off as edgy heartbreak writing. Now fans replay it like it's foreshadowing. His alter ego, Eat Tommy, a character drenched in blood imagery, suddenly looks less like art and more like a mask slipping. Even his little TikTok clip joking about chopping chicken if she talked to other dudes has been reinterpreted as a red flag. This isn't to say there's proof. There isn't. But in Hollywood conspiracy language, proof isn't the point. Patterns are. And the pattern here is one the culture knows too well. Rising star, sudden tragedy, nearby silence from the team, and a career that keeps climbing until the whispers catch up. So when people say Celeste was David's alleged sacrifice, they're not really talking about evidence. They're talking about the chilling alignment of fame and death. The idea that one life was cut short so another life and career could rise. And if that happened at one of the pig parties Katt Williams warns about, that would make Celeste's death less an accident and more an initiation. Allegedly. One reason this sacrifice theory around David and Celeste won't die down is because it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Hollywood has a long, messy history of whispers about stars who gave something up right before their biggest break. Allegedly.
Charles, any idea who is behind this swatting?
No idea. I mean, we've asked police. They want to try and track those things down when it happens, but they don't know on this one. And they, I think they figured out pretty quickly when David's parents came to the door that that's what was going on here. They didn't see any activity, and the area where their home is in a very rural area. It's not like there's a lot of houses around. So, when police are pulling up, there's no activity. It would have been pretty obvious to them if there was some crisis going on as they pulled up.
Sure, but you can't escape the date, September 18th, and it's a day after the LA house that he was renting was raided. Coincidence or something more?
It does seem strange to say that this is coincidence, and his parents said to the police, somebody is messing with us. And clearly, even if David wasn't at the house, his parents are aware of what's going on back.
Take Whitney Houston. To this day, Folks still side-eye the fact she passed away the same weekend Clive Davis held his legendary pre-Grammy party. Her body was upstairs while music execs toasted downstairs. Then, just years later, her daughter Bobby Christina was found in eerily similar circumstances. Conspiracy corners call it the double sacrifice, a generational price paid to keep the machine running. Or look at Kanye West, another name often thrown into the mix by conspiracy believers who claim the cost of superstardom is never just talent. In this dark narrative, Celeste's death becomes part of that same pattern, one of Hollywood's most chilling whispers, and the more you dig, the darker it gets. Because suddenly, all those cryptic posts, deleted tweets, and random livestream moments from David start looking different. Fans swear they've spotted hidden messages, blurred photos, strange captions like "it had to be done" or "loyalty isn't free" popping up before being wiped minutes later. Even stranger, insiders claim that around the time Celeste vanished, David was seen at a private mansion event in the hills, the same night certain execs were throwing what they called a celebration of new blood. People online now point to that as one of the alleged pig parties Katt Williams warned about. And here's the part nobody can ignore. After Celeste's death, David's career didn't stall. It skyrocketed. Suddenly, he was everywhere. Playlists, late-night interviews, brand deals. It's like the industry doubled down on making him their next star while quietly scrubbing everything that tied back to her. No accountability, no public breakdown, just silence wrapped in success. Whispers say that's exactly how it works. Trade pain for power, grief for glory. Once you step into those hidden circles, the climb never stops, but neither does the guilt. And the timing of it all, her disappearance, his debut, the sudden boost, it's too clean to ignore. So now people are asking the question that no one in Hollywood wants to answer. Was Celeste's tragedy the price of his fame, or just another ghost in the city of secrets? Because if the stories about those pig parties are even half true, this isn't the last time we'll hear that question whispered. He said it out loud. Kanye West himself claimed his mother Donda was his sacrifice. Whether you believe him or not, the timing lines up with when his career flipped from rising rapper to global mogul. Katt Williams often points to Kanye as proof that even insiders will admit the game isn't clean. Then there's Aaliyah. Officially, her death was a tragic plane crash in 2001, but plenty of people still whisper about the shady details, allegedly. Talk of a pressured pilot, an overloaded plane, and her rising star power right before she passed. That tragedy cemented her as an icon and handed her lane wide open to others in the industry. Even Michael Jackson fits the template. His sudden death in 2009 came right before a massive comeback tour that would have shifted billions. His autopsy ruled it homicide by propofol overdose, but the conspiracy crowd sees something else, a megastar allegedly removed because he was becoming too powerful, too independent of the system. And don't forget the party culture side. Diddy's infamous gatherings have been painted as freak-offs where artists are tested, compromised, and controlled. Jaguar Wright swore in interviews that half the industry was owned because of what they did at those events. And the phrase pig party just feels like a newer, nastier label for the same alleged dynamic. So when people hear that David was often with Celeste, at clubs, at events she shouldn't have even gotten into at that age, it clicks with those old patterns. It feels like history repeating. A young, bright star surrounded by tragedy, silence from their camp, and whispers of a ritualistic cause. The parallels fuel the fire. Because if it happened before, Whitney, Aaliyah, Kanye's mom Michael, why wouldn't it happen again? Allegedly, Hollywood doesn't reinvent scandals, it recycles them. And Celeste may have been the newest name on a very old list. At the end of the day, what makes this story stick isn't just the tragedy of Celeste or the sudden rise of David. It's the way the whole thing feels like déjà vu. Another young life gone too soon. Another artist suddenly elevated. Another moment where Hollywood's dirty rumors line up a little too neatly with real headlines. Allegedly, Katt Williams has been saying for years that the industry doesn't operate on talent alone. He swears there's a toll, and you either pay it or you get locked out. Whether you think he's exposing truth or just stirring the pot, the Celeste connection makes his warning sound less like comedy and more like prophecy for David. Silence is the loudest part of this story. He hasn't spoken publicly, hasn't posted, hasn't offered any denial or explanation. He canceled his tour, shut down his lease, and disappeared. To fans, that looks like grief or legal advice. To the gossip crowd, it looks like guilt. If he's innocent, why not say so? If Celeste's death was an accident, why not clear the air every day? The longer he stays quiet, the sharper the whispers become. For Celeste, the legacy is even more haunting. She was 15, reported missing multiple times, allegedly walking into clubs and industry events like a college kid with a bright future. Instead, she ended up as a cautionary tale, another young girl swallowed by the machine. The sad truth? Her name is being remembered more in conspiracy threads than in memorials. And that's the real tragedy of how gossip collides with grief. And then there's Hollywood itself. These pig party rumors aren't going anywhere. If anything, Celeste's story gives them new fuel. People already side-eye Diddy's gatherings, already believe Jaguar writes confessions, already recall Kanye's words about Donda. Now a 15-year-old found in a Tesla linked to a rising star. That's the kind of headline that makes every old rumor look brand new again. So what's next? Maybe nothing. Maybe this story fades into silence like so many before it. Or maybe someone else steps forward, another insider with nothing to lose, another voice like Katt Williams willing to risk ridicule for telling the kind of stories the industry desperately wants buried. Because here's the irony. The more Hollywood says nothing, the louder the whispers get. And right now, those whispers say Celeste wasn't just a victim. She was allegedly a sacrifice. And if that's true, then David's career isn't the beginning of a fairy tale. It's the start of a curse. Stay locked in. We'll keep digging into this story as it unfolds. Like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next drop, because this saga is far from over.